So something you guys all may not know is that I've known Denny since we were 13, 14 years old, right? And I had kids early. Like, I had my son when I was 19. Then I had the next one at 21. Then the next one at 23. But after high school, so I was moving in a different path than Denny was, and we didn't really talk for a bit after high school, and me and Corey were getting married. And then my maid of honor seen Denny one day before the wedding and invited her because she knew that I would want her there. Aww. Right? And then Denny came to the wedding, and that's where she met Jason, her husband. So that's just kind of a cool story here. So yeah, I met my husband when I was 17. I was not saved at the time. Actually, all three of us were not saved when we met our husbands. Right?
Yes, you're right. That is a fact.
We were not. My husband went to a Bible camp about 9 months after we were dating. So we just graduated high school, and he went to a Bible camp that summer. And while he was at the Bible camp, he was told by the pastor that he needed to break up with me because I was not a Christian. So he actually called his mom because he was upset about it, right? And he was in turmoil about it. And she actually told him that, no, he does not have to, right? And that, so, I mean, we could have ended up a lot different if he came home and broke up with me then, right? I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't have had the kids that we have and the life that we've lived, right? But it was definitely because of her speaking into her kids' lives as well, giving them advice at that time. Right? But okay, so I'm not going to say not, go find someone who's not saved and have a relationship with them. I still would recommend you dating someone with similar core values and beliefs because that is what we taught our kids as well. Right? So when I was first saved, my husband and I were having a discussion, and we were talking about, I was saying, no, I don't think I've ever, heard of God or had moments of God in my life. And he's like, no. He's like, God was there. You just weren't listening, right? He's always been there, right? Yep. And so I'm like, okay, that really made me reflect on my childhood, right? I wasn't saved until I think I was 18 or 19. And so I was reflecting on that, and most of my family struggles with addiction to drugs. It's down the lines in my family. It's still today. It's a hard thing to watch with your family, right? And when I was, sorry, I'm losing my place here. When I was 14, I was with a friend. It was not Denny. Nope. And we decided to try some drugs, right? So we tried the same drugs, and I was sleeping at her house that night. And it was late. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning. And she left, at the room. We were in her room. And I'm like, okay, where did she go? I thought she went to the bathroom. And I went and I looked outside, and there was a field across the street where she lived. And she was out walking in the field. And this man came up behind her and grabbed her. And he started pulling her and dragging her down to the alley. So I ran back in the house. Her mom was sleeping. I woke her mom up, and she ended up actually biting his hand and getting released and running back home. But the drugs didn't work on me. She took the same drugs, and she went out there to look at the lights. And we took the same thing. And I'm just like, wow, I was being protected.
I'd say, yeah.
There was many other times that I've been protected as well. There's not enough time for me to tell all those stories.
How much time do you have?
Right, but yeah, my husband was right. I have to say it up here. So he hears it too.
The one time.
No. But yeah, it's definitely powerful to think back on my life and think about all the times that God was protecting me. Even though I wasn't following him at that time. Moving on. Have you guys ever thought about what it would have been like to be Eve? Having the first baby on earth? No other mothers to talk to?
Yeah.
Not knowing exactly how this was going to work? Giving birth and not knowing what to expect? It'd be like, surprise, this is going to hurt. Right?
Know what to expect when you're expecting handbook. Yeah.
Right? But then when I think about it after, all the moms who have kids, and you forget about the pain you went through.
Yeah.
You forget about how painful it was. Because you have more, right?
Yes.
Like, you do. It fades. The pain of that fades. It does. I can remember that it was painful, but I do not distinctly remember how painful it was, right? And then later to have one of your sons kill the other,
Yeah.
right? Like, I was sitting there, like, pondering on it. Wow, right? And just thinking about, like, the foundation that we teach our kids. I didn't grow up with much of a foundation. I think I had strong parents. My parents actually divorced when I was 1.5 years as well, which I didn't know that about Denny as well, so it's kind of the same here. And then my mom got remarried, and I had my stepdad, and then my dad moved to Ontario, and he had 4 other kids with my stepmom, right? So I didn't have a strong foundation growing up. And so what do they say? If you don't have anything to believe in, you fall for everything. Right? So that's something that I am so glad that we got to raise our kids with and teach them about God's grace and be able to help them build strong foundations so that they can overcome any storm that comes their way.
Amen.
Right? Matthew 7:24-29, it says, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who's built his house on a rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock.
Yeah.
Amen.
And that's really what redemption means to me, is that I get to pass that along to my kids and to my other family as well.
Yeah.
And that they get to grow up with a stronger foundation to help them along their journey in their lives.
Amen.
The end.